Hello, I'm professional angler Gary Klein, and I'd like to take a few minutes to try to explain a commonly asked questions that I get all the time across the country. Jigs, because I kind of have a reputation for building and tinkering and being part of fishboss.com and offering other anglers the opportunity to do exactly what I do, build their own baits, create their own baits. Let's just first start with picking out jig heads for certain conditions. I mean, basically, all the jig head is lead on a hook, okay? That's it, lead on a hook. But as we build, we're building a bait for a certain condition. And let me just explain this right here. If you look at the line ties and all the different jig heads that we offer, the shape of the head is for a reason, and the hook that's in that head is for a reason. Here, we have a jig that is designed for cover. You notice that the line tie is coming out the very tip of the jig head itself. And the reason for this is that when you're fishing like wood, you want to have a perfectly smooth transition from the line to the knot underneath the head. So you have no material forward of the eye to get hung up in the cover. This allows the jig to follow the line through the cover. It kind of slithers really, really well. So that right there is a heavy cover bait. Whereas the football head jig is designed for two reasons. One, if you notice where we have the weight according to the hook, and the line tie basically comes out of the top of the jig head. This is a 3/4 ounce football head. Kind of notice the design of it. Two things this bait's designed for. One is a vertical fall. This is one of the few jig heads that you can use if you're fishing like vertical bluff walls or maybe shade lines on docks where you can cast it up and free spool it and it'll fall straight. That's because the majority of the lead is forward the line tie, so it falls down. But the more commonly used use of the football head is to drag it. You know, drag it on the rocks, drag it on the pea gravel, and that's the reason why we have the line tie on top, is it doesn't make contact with the rocks as often as if you were to use this jig here. That your knot's going to constantly be driven into the rocks. Where with a line tie on top of a football head, your line tie stays away from the contact with the rocks. But most importantly, what it does, because this is your pull point, and as you're dragging, like most of us fish a football head, drag it with a rod tip or do a little reel with a handle, what you're doing is you're pulling it here, but you're actually pivoting the jig up. So it does kind of elevate your trailer a little bit, and it also rubbles across the bottom very, very well. That's a football head jig. This is not a heavy cover bait. You throw this into wood, you'll have issues. And this is like one of our heavy duty, heavy cover jigs with a big magnum hook in it. It's called our winch jig. This is just a little 3/8. But again, I have the line tie, a perfect smooth transition going past the jig. This bait was designed for big trees, big laid over logs and big bushes, and heavy line, heavy braves. So that's just kind of it in a nutshell. When you take a look at a jig head, even your little shaky heads, your football heads, your heavy cover jig heads, they're all designed for a reason. So you need to basically fish them under for the right conditions.
Check us out at wired2fish.com.